the doctor said to go to the emergency right away. And I'm just like, oh my God, she's telling me to go in the emergency. This is legit.
Looking on my dream life. In my bank account be real fine. Got my skincare, yeah, I glow shine.
Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. It's your girl Alicia, also known as Miss Curvy Silhouette. If you are new to my channel, welcome. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button so you guys never miss a beat. And if you guys are returning subscribers, welcome back. Thank you so much for your support. In this video, I'm going to be talking a little bit about my miscarriage. So I decided to just turn my camera on. It was on me and ready to go. So I said, you know what? Let me just record. It's not all the time I'm going to be in a proper setting to record a video. And this is more raw, you know what I mean? And because I don't really share much personal stuff, really deep personal stuff on my channel, this right here is very, very personal. So hopefully I'm able to get it out before my boyfriend shows up. So I have experienced a miscarriage. I was technically supposed to be 6 weeks, but because of my HCG levels, I was not high enough to be considered 6 weeks pregnant, even though based on my missed period calculation, I was 6 weeks pregnant. What they're saying is I experienced a miscarriage. What that means, if I can remember exactly what the doctor said, is that more than likely I forgot what she said, it was did not connect to my uterus properly, or it just wasn't good to begin with. So it was attached enough to give me a surge in my HCG, but it was not enough to continue on. So at some point it did stop growing, but my body had not recognized it as yet. I was technically 6 weeks according to my missed period calculation. I really was not 6 weeks pregnant. For me, I kind of knew something was up from the beginning. Because I normally with my pregnancies, I know right away. Well, I did know right away, honestly. Before I took the pregnancy test, I knew something was wrong, was why I took the pregnancy test early. And I will put that link up. I am still going to put up all the recordings of my journey before I had the miscarriage, so I can remind myself of the journey, and anybody that's, you know, looking for those kind of videos can see it. It was an experience, and I don't want to not put up an experience because this happened. So I am still going to put up. So if you are interested in seeing my results, I was thinking of putting all the videos together, like when I found out and my symptoms, because I did some videos on symptoms and everything. So I was thinking of putting everything in one cluster video, and this would be the end result of it. But I haven't fully decided yet, so we'll see how that goes. I have so much videos on my phone that I need to edit, so we'll see how that goes. Yeah, I knew something was wrong from the beginning, because with my pregnancies, I knew, and I know before that with this pregnancy, for me, it was I just had a feeling. I didn't have any symptoms really. I did experience like really thirst. I was really thirsty, really thirsty. I'm thinking to myself, why am I so thirsty? I did have the peeing every minute situation. Another thing that I had was my nipples got extremely large. Like they were like large. They're like a little bit smaller than a nickel, I would say. Like they got so big, and I was like, nah, these look like I've already been feeding babies. Like what the hell? The line in my stomach got darker, and my areolas got darker. But that's it. That's all I had. I didn't have any morning sickness. I wasn't tired. If anything, I think my boyfriend got more of the symptoms than I did. He got extremely tired and all of that. But I didn't get tired. I didn't have that metallic taste. I was waiting every week for that taste, and it never came. I'm like, that's weird. I'm like, okay, maybe it'll just come later. So I never got that. And usually that's the first thing I get before I know I'm pregnant. I get that metallic taste in my mouth. That's usually what gives it away for me. I get that metallic taste way before I test to see if I'm pregnant, and I never got it. So that was very surprising to me, but they say every pregnancy is different, so I didn't really read too much into it. But I had no other, I wouldn't say normal or regular symptoms. I would just say the typical symptoms. I didn't have the morning sickness, and after a while I didn't have to pee as much. The only time I really need to pee is if I drank water. Other than that, I didn't have to pee. I found that really weird. Like, my symptoms were slowly decreasing. Like, I didn't have to pee as much. That was like a concern for me. I'm like, shouldn't I be peeing more than this? I was not getting the metallic taste. I was not tired at all. Like, I wasn't tired at all. And I'm like thinking to myself, ooh, well, that's great, because I don't want to be tired. I didn't want to be tired, so I wasn't really mad about that. I needed my energy to go to work. It's hard for me to get up and go to work on a regular day. So I did not want the pregnancy to just make me tired, because then, you know what? Because when I'm pregnant, I get really ignorant, and the littlest things set me off. Like, especially because I'm so tired. When I'm tired, I don't like to be bothered. And I was just like, oh my God, if I get tired, and I'm already tired of going to work now, it's gonna be a big problem. So, but the fact that I didn't have that issue, I still have my normal energy. I was fine with that. But then I just knew something was up. I even Googled, can you have a miscarriage without knowing it? It's like I subconsciously knew something was wrong before I knew for sure something was wrong. On the day that I turned 6 weeks and 3 days, I started to bleed. And it was little spotting, and I did a lot of Googling, and they said it was normal. You know, I wasn't cramping at that time. I was just spotting. I'm like, okay, whatever. I don't normally spot at that. I usually get the implantation, and that's the next thing. I never got any implantation bleeding. So I think that nothing implanted properly for me to get the implantation bleeding. Since I always got the implantation bleeding, I never got the implantation bleeding. That's another thing that I noticed that I did not get. But it's not something that, some people don't get it at all. So it's not something that has to be, you have to get it to know you're pregnant. But I personally got it every time I was pregnant. So I thought to myself, okay, maybe I'm off in dates. I don't know. Maybe the implantation is happening now. I was so confused. I didn't know what to think. But I'm like, okay, it's spotting. It was really light pink and everything. And I read it everywhere, and they said it was fine as long as there's no cramping. So I'm like, okay, cool. It'll probably go away by tomorrow. And it did not. But I still was not cramping the next day. It was still a little light pink in the morning. By the afternoon, it got darker. So I was like, okay. I still wasn't cramping yet. I'm like, okay. And then I started to freak out at this point, and I started YouTubing a lot of videos about bleeding during pregnancy. And a lot of people had a lot of stories where they bled throughout their whole pregnancy. I heard some people get their period during their pregnancy, so I was kind of hoping that's what it was. A lot of people had their own miscarriage scare and ended up being fine. So I'm thinking to myself, you know what? That's what it is. I'm just gonna have this. The baby's fine, I'm fine, we're good. The bleeding will stop on its own. I was still, you know, I was at work at this time. It was a Thursday, and I was just like, and I work until 7 those nights on Thursdays, and I was just like, okay, I'm good. And then the cramping started. I'm like, fuck. Cramping started, the bleeding got heavier. I'm like, no, this is not normal. I'm like, this is not normal. There's no way this is normal. Like, now I'm cramping. The bleeding is getting heavier and darker. I was like, this is not normal. No way. Well, by the time I started to get heavier and darker, it was around 3 o'clock in the afternoon, 3 or 4 o'clock in the afternoon. And I was just like, okay, I just need to hurry up and get through this day. At this point, I did not have a doctor's appointment until a couple weeks later. I did not have a doctor's appointment, and I'm thinking to myself, oh my God, like, what am I going to do? And I didn't want to go to the emergency because I'm not vaccinated, and I didn't want to go, and then they didn't want to see me because I'm not vaccinated, or, you know, I just didn't want the whole hurrah about it. And I'm just like, I don't want to go to the emergency. Well, it's not even just that. I didn't want to go to the emergency because I just didn't want to be there all day. I didn't. And I just didn't want to be there all day. And I didn't want to go there for no reason. And I was fine. I just wanted to go because the hospital that I usually go to, like, you end up waiting there forever. Like, you literally have to be bleeding like through your pants for them to see you, and it's just, I knew I wasn't going to be first priority, and I knew I was going to be sitting there cramping and bleeding, and that's exactly what happened. I ended up calling my doctor. She was gone for the day, so I left a message with the reception. I said, okay, can you just let her know that I'm bleeding and cramping and I just need to know what to do? So they ended up calling me back, and I missed the call. I didn't notice the call until like 5 o'clock, and they said, the doctor said to go to the emergency right away. And I'm just like, oh my God, she's telling me to go to the emergency. This is legit. I had time to grieve this and whatever, so it's not that hard for me right now. But I'm just like, oh my God, this is legit. She's telling me to go to the hospital. I'm like, oh my God. I called my boyfriend. I told him, and I didn't want to tell him because I know he can't handle those kind of things emotionally. So I know he would have been sad, but I had to tell him because he would have been more mad that I didn't tell him. So I told him, and I'm just like, babe, I'm bleeding, I'm cramping, and the doctor said I should go to the emergency, and he was just freaking out.
So as I mentioned, I was at work when this happened. None of my coworkers were aware of my pregnancy. So, but there was one colleague that kind of had her suspicions, but never mentioned it to me. And she can see that I was in pain, and she was asking me like, are you okay? And I'm like, yeah, I'm good. And then she just came out and said, are you pregnant? And I said, I am, but I think I'm having a miscarriage right now because I'm bleeding and cramping. And that day I had to work until 7 p.m. So I had 2 more hours to go. And she's like, you know what? I won't say anything because it's your business. And I'm not going to have you here cramping and bleeding. So just go to the emergency. So I know she'll never see this video, but shout outs to her for being so understanding. That's why everybody loves her to death. But yeah, so that's what happened and how I ended up going to the emergency. Now, don't get me wrong. I was already planning on telling her that I was going to go home because I wasn't feeling well, because the cramping was starting to get intense at this time. And I believe that's how she knew something was wrong, because the discomfort in my face was, I'm sure, pretty visible. And I kept getting up and going to the bathroom like every 5 minutes. So I was going to go either way, even if she did not tell me to go. So just wanted to put that up.
We ended up going. We were there all night, pretty much. All night. They did the tests. Now, mind you, before that, I did go to the doctors previously before. Let me pause there for a second. I totally forgot this. I did end up going to the doctors, I think, 3 or 4 days before this experience started. And my HCG levels were pretty low. I know I stated that in the video earlier on, but I didn't state this. So this information is very important. This is how I kind of knew something was up to my HCG levels. So I had taken 2 blood tests like almost back to back, like one day and then one like 3 days later, because they were testing for the hormone levels and like confirmation of pregnancy. And the first one I don't think was pregnancy, that's why. And then I found out I was pregnant after, and so she ended up giving me blood work to do more blood work. So that's why it was so close together. The first time they took it, the HCG levels was like 4 something. That was before I realized I was pregnant. And then when I did the blood work, when I did tell my doctor I was pregnant, she gave me the blood work, I was only at 585. So it only jumped up a little bit. And when I seen it, I'm like, it's pretty low, because it kept saying not pregnant. I'm like, why does this thing keep saying not pregnant? And I am fully pregnant. I took a pregnancy test and it says I'm pregnant. And I'm like, oh my gosh. And then I ended up taking, you know what, guys, I'm going to see where my boyfriend's at, because it's almost 7. You know what, I give him 5 more minutes. I'm just like, I don't understand. And I don't know if I put this video up, but there's a video where I'm like, just like thinking, I just don't feel pregnant. I kept saying, I don't feel pregnant. I kept telling my boyfriend, I don't feel pregnant. But the pregnancy test isn't pregnant. I'm like, but I don't feel pregnant. And the first time I took a pregnancy test, it said I was 1 to 2 weeks pregnant. So I'm like, okay, cool. So then when I took it again after I felt I was not pregnant, I'm like, I'm not pregnant. I just don't feel pregnant. Like, I just don't feel like the symptoms are there. My nipples, oh yeah, my nipples are hurting too. My nipples were sore like crazy and everything. Like, I had the typical symptoms, but I'm just like, I don't feel pregnant. I just did not feel it inside. And then I took another pregnancy test and it said I was 3 to 4 weeks pregnant. No, 2 to 3 weeks pregnant. So I'm like, okay, it's going up. So I know at that point that gave me some ease, because I'm like, okay, it's going up. Because if there's something wrong, I would have seen 1 to 2 weeks or something, or just not pregnant. But the fact that I seen a higher week, I was just like, okay, everything's cool. It's just, I'm just all in my head. I'll put the pictures of the pregnancy test in the video. And then I'm just like, okay, so backtracking now to the hospital, or fast forwarding back to the hospital now. They did the blood work and everything. They sent me, they didn't do an ultrasound at this point, but they just did the blood work and everything like that. And they noticed my HCG levels were low. And in my head, I'm like, yes, I know they're low already. I noticed it myself. At 6 weeks, your HCG level should be in the thousands, like the 10,000s. Anywhere between, I think they said 5 and 10,000 or something. So I was in the range, but I was like at the cusp of the range. And he's like, yeah, your pregnancy levels are really low. Like, your HCG levels are really low. You're like 487. So when he said that, I knew it. I'm like, I'm having a miscarriage. I said it to myself. I didn't say it to him. Because I'm just like, I was at 5 something the other day, and now I'm at 4. I'm just like, yeah, the levels are dropping. Like, I'm having a miscarriage. So I just let him talk. I was just saying it in my head, and he says, yeah, we're gonna call you back for ultrasound to see, if it is passing, or if anything, or if it's just a really early pregnancy. He's trying to reassure me like it could just be a very early pregnancy, because we track based on your last missed period, but that may not have been when you conceived, you know what I mean? So it could just be really, really early. But in my head, I already knew because I was at 587 the other day, and now you're telling me I'm at 4 something. So I knew already. I'm like, there's no hope for that. So I ended up going back for the ultrasound, I think the next day, and they didn't see anything. There was nothing there. They said if there was, they seen that my lining was very thin. So because they say when you're having a delivery, when you're about to deliver or you're miscarrying, your uterus lining gets thinner for the contraction and the pushing of the baby, clearing the womb. So they did notice my lining was very thin, and they didn't see anything. They did see a little bit of blood in there, but other than that, they didn't see anything. I'm just like, wow. I'm like, well, yeah, I'm aware of this. I already knew that was going to be the outcome. So they're like, more than likely you did pass the pregnancy. And I'm just like, yeah. At this point, I didn't know what to say. Like, my eyes watered up, but I don't really like to, I really don't like to let people see me cry. So I just, and luckily we have to wear the mask in the hospital. So it was kind of like a protection for me, for my emotions and my feelings. They're just like, yeah, unfortunately that's what happened. It is my first miscarriage, so they didn't think it was anything too serious. And I got pregnant pretty quickly. Like, it took, I would say, actual physically trying, when I put my mind to it, it literally took a month or 2 when I got pregnant. So there was no trouble getting pregnant. I've never had a miscarriage. Ever. So they told me I had to come back again in a few days while I, was passing and everything and like that. I had to do a checkup, and they were going to wanted to know if I wanted to talk to anybody about trying again, and if there's any concerns and yada yada yada. So I ended up seeing another doctor in a different hospital a few days later. So when they see me, so this started on Wednesday. I went to the hospital on Thursday, did the ultrasound on Friday, sat at home on Saturday and Sunday while I was still bleeding and passing, clots and stuff like that. And on Monday is when I had the last appointment, and they said, yeah, your HCG levels now are at 35. They're waiting for it to get to 0. So it was pretty close, and I was just like, yeah. She's like, well, have you ever had, she had the typical question, have you ever had miscarriage before? I said no. And she said, did it take you a while to get pregnant? I said no. And she's like, okay, well, that's good, that's all good signs. And they did the ultrasound, they did a whole bunch of other tests, and they said they didn't see anything that would have suspected to have caused the miscarriage, so I'm free to just try again whenever I'm ready. So they said they usually just say to wait a few months, you know. I'll be getting my regular period, she said, a month later. So I'm just like, okay, cool. So it's best to track from then, because then you'll know when you're ovulating. That happened, guys. So for me now, all I can say to myself is, I was trying to make it a brighter picture. You know, it could have been when I heard the heartbeat. It could have been when I had felt movement. It could have been when I was like actually experiencing like I think it was more easier to cope with, because I didn't feel pregnant for one, and it was really early. Like, we didn't get to hear the heartbeat or anything like that to get attached to the baby. So as much as it was sad, it was very sad for the both of us. My boyfriend took it hard as well. And, you know, we took some time to grieve it out. What I am going to say is I'm taking the time, the 1 month to just focus on me, my health, and I. So I want to really go to the gym every day this month. I want to eat clean. I'm still taking prenatals. I got some new prenatals, which I will put the picture up in the video for you guys to see, because I'm doing this in the car, so I don't have them right on me right this second. But I'm still taking my prenatals. I did run out, so I kind of stopped for 3-4 days, I think, and then I ended up ordering a specific one that I wanted. Is that him? No. So that's the one that I wanted. So, and I got it. So I'm just gonna focus on my health, because right now I'm like, I have a lot of body pains, and like I feel like my body is not mine. I feel like my body is not mine. Like, I have chronic pain in my knees right now. I have it in my back. I have it in my ankles. Like, I feel like my body is not mine, and I felt that way when I got pregnant. Like, it was hard for me to get out of the bed. Like, it's hard for me to get out the car. It was hard. I'm just thinking to myself, if I got bigger, it's like my body knew. Sometimes I have to think to myself, did my body knew that I would not have been able to handle getting any bigger than this? Because I just feel just chronic pain all the time. So I just want to focus on my health and my body. I want to make this a happy, healthy, spongy home for the next baby that is inside me. So that is what the plan is. So I just wanted to put this video out there on my experience on my miscarriage. Unfortunately, this video did not have a happy ending. There's a lot of videos that tell you about their symptoms of signs of miscarriage, but then there was a happy ending at the end of it. Mine did not have a happy ending, unfortunately. But if anybody was not aware of miscarriages, which I was never aware of, I've just found out about this. Even when I was Googling, can you have a miscarriage not knowing it, miscarriage did come up. So I was not aware of that. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. It's the first time I've ever been so personal. It was very easy, so thank you for making it very easy for me, guys. That is it for today, and I will see you guys in the next video. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button as well as the like button, especially because this was a very sensitive and private moment for me, and I got through it, guys. So give me a thumbs up, as well as hit the subscribe button. You guys will not be disappointed, and I'll see you guys in the next video.